It's been over 1,200 days since we've had a Playboi Carti album, and this wait has been torturous. But I promise it's almost over, and Playboi Carti is planning something fans have no idea about that will be well worth the wait. A lot of artists take time between albums, but with Carti it's been especially painful waiting. And this is because of two reasons. One, his last album, Whole Lotta Red, was so, I want to say great, but not everyone loved it as much as I did. But one thing for sure, it's very polarizing. I remember hating it when it first came out because of how different it was from anything we've gotten from him before, and because of what the norm was in hip-hop back in 2020. And the second reason why this wait has been so agonizing is because of that goddamn mysterious persona that Playboi Carti has tied himself to. I mean, the guy said a total of 8 words on Aiden Ross's stream.
You playing games and shit? Video games? No.
Aside socially awkward outings like this, Carti has purposely kept fans on edge by teasing bits of the album here and there, posting that it's coming soon, giving snippets, having leaks, having multiple rollouts, etc. The whole thing reminds me of this guy. Although this wait has been long and gruesome, the project Playboi Carti has been cooking up these past 4 years is huge. The music industry is going to be shook when it drops. But that's not all. Playboi Carti has an even bigger surprise for fans aside from the project dropping. As fans, this situation we find ourselves in reminds me a lot of 2020. Right before Whole Lotta Red dropped, there were fan-made mixes of the album art concepts, leaks, and of course memes. Basically anything fans could channel their energy into as they waited. On top of all of this was Playboi Carti, who was just adding more fuel to the fire with tweets like these. But also there were so many iterations of this album that we never saw. In fact, Whole Lotta Red had 4 different eras or versions or iterations before eventually releasing. In early 2020, it seemed like we were finally going to get the album. This was V3. Carti had about 16 tracks locked in and ready to go, but of course he'd end up scrapping this version after 2 songs from this recording era performed pretty badly amongst his fans. Those were @MEH, which I'm in the minority, but I do like that song, and Pain 1993, which ended up going on Drake's album, but still got a lot of shit for Carti's extremely over-the-top baby verse. Now after 3 different iterations of Whole Lotta Red being created and scrapped, we finally got the final version 4. This is when Gen Z's version of Rick Rubin came in to finish the album. None other than everyone's favorite person in the world, Kanye West. Yes, Kanye is crazy. But you can't deny that he does push the boundaries. And that's exactly what he did for Playboi Carti. He served as the executive producer, locked himself and Carti in the studio between September to November, and had them both freestyle another 16 tracks. Now, from all the versions of Whole Lotta Red, they had about 64 songs. With Kanye's help, they whittled it down to 24 in total. Well, I mean, it was easy to remove the tracks that had already leaked, which was a majority of version 1 and 2 from 2018 and 2019. But to cut it down even more, Kanye suggested Carti completely leave the baby voice behind with this new project, and instead lean into the punk vampire aesthetic he cultivated alongside producer Filthy. In hindsight, this was great advice. It was a huge risk for Carti to leave something that he knew worked, like his baby voice Pureborn produced tracks that was pretty much all of Die Lit. But when you take a risk and it hits, like Whole Lotta Red did, you can ride that success for a very, very long time. A perfect example of this is Frank Ocean. He dropped Channel Orange, which was a solid R&B project that was really good, but wasn't anything groundbreaking. He could have dropped a similar project and fallen in line with similar R&B artists like Miguel, The Dream, or Trey Songz. But no, 4 years later, he dropped Blonde, which was way more experimental and risky than Channel Orange. And Frank has been riding that to this day. Another example is Kanye's 808s. He didn't ride that nearly as long because he dropped My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy within 2 years, but fans were salivating for his next project because of that risk he took with 808s. Like the many iterations that Whole Lotta Red saw, I Am Music, his new album, is going through a ton of versions too. But just like the Whole Lotta Red era, there's good reason. The rollout that Carti had at the beginning of this year is one of the best I've experienced in recent years. It was banger after banger released within days of each other, and some bald dude yelling at us right before a new track would drop.
New Carti dropping tonight!
What a time. The full rollout all started with this cryptic IG story. Then the next day, he'd surprise drop the song a different day through his Opium IG account. And when that dropped, everyone lost their shit. I mean, this was his first solo release since Whole Lotta Red, and it wasn't even officially released anywhere except on Instagram. Then, just 6 days later, he'd release 2024, and this one he'd actually release officially on YouTube. Within 1 hour, it had over 10 million views. Then 5 days later came came Hood by Air, another banger and dope music video. Then on New Year's, Backrooms with Travis Scott. Then 2 weeks later, Evil Jordan. And then nothing. Well, not until 2 months later in March when he dropped the final song of this rollout, Ketamine. It felt like Carti was on a roll at the beginning and then it just died out. And it dying out seemed to be his own decision. He had the music scene in the palm of his hand and just decided to let it go. But there are actually a couple explanations for why this happened, starting with the most reasonable to the most absurd. The most reasonable explanation can come back to Gen Z's Rick Rubin, or Kanye. Basically, he kind of fucked up Carti's rollout with his own half-baked one in Vultures. A week after Carti released Evil Jordan, Kanye would announce that his collab album Vultures would have 3 volumes. Sure, Kanye. The first one in February, the next in March, and the final in April. Well, this announcement stomped right on Carti's rollout, and given Carti and Ye are great friends and collaborators, it's not too far-fetched to assume Ye had his little bro step down for the time being to make way for him and Ty Dolla $ign's releases. The only problem with that is the guy only released one of them, and even that was late. The other reason, the more absurd explanation as to why this rollout died, is pretty out there, but still very much possible. In the past couple years, anytime Carti has made a public appearance, it's been kind of off.
How you doing, sir?
Some say that he's just socially awkward, but there may be something else going on that fans aren't aware of. The pinnacle of this weird energy we've gotten out of Carti was in February when Aiden Ross told fans he was going to get Carti on his live stream for an hour conversation and in return pay him $2 million and give him a Ferrari. Carti showed up 2 hours late, stayed for 6 minutes, said maybe 10 words, but mostly just stared in space the whole time. A lot of people are saying that's just how he is, but something else may be at play. Shout out to Sonny Baby, who explains the whole theory really great in this TikTok, which elaborates on this Reddit post. Basically, the theory is that Carti's health has been deteriorating because of his lifestyle and drug use.
Told me that they couldn't even understand what he was saying, just like in a normal conversation. The new music that we have been getting from him is absolute fire, but it does not sound sober.
I mean, his diet consists of fruit roll-ups, Gushers, and Doritos. So mix in some drugs with this and it's quite the lethal combination. I definitely agree that the music he's been making lately for sure sounds drug influenced. I mean, his last song from the first rollout was called Ketamine and had him wilding out in a trap house. So it's not too crazy to think he was in rough shape during this rollout and took time off to get himself right. Even more evidence for this is how he canceled his whole tour around this time too. But now it looks like the next rollout has officially begun. And unlike the rollout that happened earlier this year, it looks like this one is actually gonna happen. I know what you're thinking. How do you know it's actually gonna happen? One certainty we have is that the album will come by the end of the year. 2024 has been a focal point of I Am Music. Carti recently performed at Summer Smash in Chicago. This is the first set he's done since his one in Finland all the way back in August 2023. That Finland set list was mostly tracks from Whole Lotta Red and a few feature cuts, but this most recent set list was more than 50% from the I Am Music era. He performed all the songs from his first rollout, but also 2 new ones. One is called All Red, and the other one doesn't even have a name yet. Both are dope. The songs that have already been released as part of the first rollout are not even expected to be on the final album, which is insane. These were all bangers, so to think Carti has some in the vault that are even better that he's saving for the album is crazy. As much as Carti left his sound from Die Lit to Whole Lotta Red, he's doing the same thing from Whole Lotta Red to I Am Music. He's one of the few artists who's constantly evolving, and that's why we're all salivating while waiting for the next project. We've heard the songs from earlier this year, but the 2 songs he previewed at his recent show are much more hyperpop, but still mix in the punk aesthetic that Whole Lotta Red had on songs like Ketamine. He's also singing in these like he did in the song Different Day. The album Carti's planning is going to raise the bar even higher in terms of our expectations from him. And based on Carti's activity with these artists over the year, it's possible to see them collaborate on this new album. I mean, imagine a Pharrell and Tyler collaboration with Carti. It's insane. But what's even more insane is the huge surprise that Carti has for fans that I mentioned in the beginning of the video. Playboi Carti isn't just planning on releasing I Am Music, but he's also releasing another album. That album is called Baby Boy and is a play on the persona he introduced in this video. What? This was all confirmed recently by Heaven or Hell, a reputable insider who's been the first to announce numerous industry drops. Heaven or Hell also confirmed that I Am Music was supposed to drop in January and then Baby Boy in February, but Kanye convinced him not to. Now the question is, when will these albums drop? Alright, let's break it down. Playboi Carti has 4 festivals. The first one is Splash in Germany, and the last one is Clout in Poland. The set he played in Chicago recently is likely to be the exact same set as these 4 festival headlining acts. Carti's label Opium has 3 artists under it: Ken Carson, Homicide Gang, and Destroy Lonely. All except Destroy Lonely have dropped recent projects, so around the time Carti's headlining these festivals, I expect Lone to drop his album. Then Carti will drop his, and I bet the Antagonist tour, which was cancelled, will get started back up, and all Opium label mates will tour together with Carti's headlining act driving the tour sales. The albums are so close, and everything recently is pointing to their imminent release. When we finally do get these projects, it's going to shape the sound of hip-hop just how Whole Lotta Red did when it dropped in 2020. Playboi Carti is an artist who's setting trends, and in just a short amount of time, we'll get that key to his vault and listen to some out-of-this-world music that'll take us somewhere that we've never been before. Thanks for watching this whole video. If you did like it, please subscribe. We have some other cool videos right here, and if you're a music fan like us, come join our Discord.